If you think you're meant for more in your life, then you're right. You're right, one, because everybody's an operant power in their own life, and whatever you believe is true for you will become true for you. So, as long as you believe it, it's gonna happen. That prophecy will fulfill itself regardless. But that feeling does mean something because not everybody gets that. And I'm not saying this to sound, I don't know what's the word, pretentious or something, but it truly is not everybody who gets the feeling that they are meant for something bigger than where they have found themselves. You know what I mean? Like, I look around in the town that I'm living in and I see all these houses because I live in the suburbs of New England, quiet and quaint. Anyways, I see all these houses and these families, living the suburban life or whatever, and it's two parents and kids and a dog maybe or something. Obviously, a lot of white people, a lot of white people. But it's like I look at this town, I look at this community, and I don't even see it as my hometown because we moved here a few years ago. I lived in another town before this, which was technically a city, although it wasn't in the city, it was more urban sort of. But regardless, that's where I grew up. And then we moved to this town, this suburb, a few years ago. I don't even see it as my town. Not because I didn't spend my childhood here, but because I can't even imagine myself living the lives that I see people live here. And it's not the fact that it's a suburb with all white people. I mean, sure, that does play into it. I literally don't see a lot of black families living this suburban life that all these white people are living. But regardless of that, it's just the things I see myself doing. I can't see myself settling down in a town like this with two kids and a dog. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, as a society, we're all taught to want certain things for our life. You should get married around this age, have kids around this age, have a house by this age, be working in whatever field by this age. And as a child of immigrants, my parents brought me to this country from Nigeria when I was 2. There's always been expectations on top of that because you have to build that for yourself. In this country, when you're an immigrant and you're coming to this country, either you were born here or your parents brought you here from your home country, there's, of course, the American dream that a lot of us are taught to believe in, but your parents brought you here because they wanted you to be in an environment with more opportunities. So there's an expectation that you're going to take advantage of those opportunities to build a life that they want for you. That's the thing. Because with immigrant parents, it's I brought you here so you could live this life that I have an image for you of. You get what I mean? But for me, whether it's my parents' expectations as immigrants or the things that I see and the way I see people living in the town that I live in, I can't see myself living in it. You know what I mean? My parents are Nigerian Christian parents. Okay, their image of what adulthood should look like for me don't even match up with who I am. I don't believe in God, and I've come out to my mom as lesbian. I can't even live the life that you want me to if I wanted to stay true to myself. I'd have to deny certain parts of myself, go marry a man, and then buy a house in whatever suburb, and then have kids. I don't want to do any of that. And, people say, oh, you're too young to know the things that you want in adulthood and what you want at this age. But I also know that I'm very in touch with my intuition. I know who I am, and for the past few years of my life, I put a lot of work into deconstructing the ideas of what people think I should be and reconnecting with what I know I am and what I know I will be. I know I don't want to marry a man. I know that I don't want to live in the suburbs with a house of my own, with a husband and kids and whatever and whatnot. I'm not saying that's a bad life to live. It's just not the one I want to. You know what I mean? I struggled with my mental health when I was younger, but when I finally got the courage to work on myself and work on my mental health and get better, I looked at my surroundings. I looked at this town at the expectations my parents had for me, and I realized I can't do that. I really can't do that. I think part of it is when you're dealing with depression, there's like this constant low grade feeling of exhaustion and tiredness in your body that you can't really get rid of. You're just always feeling very heavy. You know what I mean? You feel very weighted down by what you're struggling with. And when I started working on my mental health and I got out of that, I became disgusted by anything that reminded me of that heavy feeling or that just made me feel not myself. Because that's a very, it makes me feel claustrophobic. Like you're forcing your expectations on me and I don't feel that they fit who I am. That just makes me feel claustrophobic. I'm gonna get the fuck away from you. That's the way my mind works. It's almost like a phobia of things that don't reflect who I am. So every time my parents talk about, oh, you know, your husband, or when you grow up and you have kids, and I'm just sitting there like, yeah. There's this like anxiety in my chest almost. It's like, ugh. It makes me feel so heavy and it makes my heart pound and my head starts to hurt a little bit because the part of me that knows the life they want for me just isn't what I'm gonna live almost feels afraid that I'm gonna be forced to live it anyways. I know I'm not, but in that moment that anxiety comes up and it's like, no, I don't wanna live up to your expectations of what you want from me. I know, or I don't know the details of where I'm headed, but I know it's not in that direction. You know what I mean? So, like I was saying, after coming out of my depression, I made a commitment indirectly to myself to only do things and go after things that I knew were in alignment for me. I think that's the phrase, in alignment. And as I spent more time with myself, not just meditating, because I don't really meditate, but I mean, I sit outside and quiet and just listen to the wind, and I guess you could call that meditating, but I don't sit down and listen to 17 hertz frequency and like think about my thoughts. I don't really meditate like that, but regardless, as I spent more time with myself and I started journaling more and I started thinking about my thoughts, deconstructing my thoughts, and then discovered manifestation and these more spiritual things, how reality is simply a reflection of the thoughts you have about yourself and your world reflected back to you. Reality is simply a delayed mirror. Once I started to learn all these things, I had to commit to being myself. That doesn't mean that in every second, at every crossroad, I'm gonna know exactly what to do, but I'm gonna trust that I'll be okay. Something I've been saying to myself for a while now is that everything works in my favor. And it really helps with my anxiety because it's like, yeah, I might be in a situation I've never been in where I don't know exactly what to do, but everything works in my favor. So whatever decision I make is gonna lead me to where I need to be. You know what I mean? That's how I think about things, and that's how things have been working out for me recently. I don't have anxiety around situations that are new to me because in my mind, again, it's everything works out in my favor. When I came out to my mom, I was bawling my eyes out the whole time. It was really emotional for me because unlike my relationship with my dad, I was emotionally invested in the relationship I have with my mom. I care about her, I love her and all that. So it was hard to come out to her as agnostic and lesbian knowing that she's Christian and homophobic. And but in the end, I wasn't doing it for her. I was doing it for me because I knew I can no longer live in this house knowing who I am and just pretending that doesn't exist. Because I was going to church, making friends with people at church, and forgetting that when you go up to college, you're not going to be able to call these people friends anymore. Because in my mind, it was like, yeah, the second I go up to college, I'm going to be open to everybody there. I know I'm going to be openly myself, so why am I making friends with people who wouldn't accept me? You know what I mean? Even at school now, all my friends know that I'm queer, Anybody who doesn't know me obviously doesn't know that I'm queer, but if you're somebody in my friend circle, you're gonna know. Even those people who aren't that close to me know, just because it comes up in conversation or whatever. So why am I going to church and making friends with people who I know don't accept that part of me? Is it because I want to have community when I'm at church, knowing damn well I don't even believe in God? You know what I mean? Like, that's another thing I have had to deal with. My need for seeking community, or not need, I just like to be in community with people. I like to be in community with people, especially because the church I was going to was a Nigerian, or not a Nigerian specifically, but it was an African church. You saw African people from all over the continent that went there. Pretty sure there were even some Caribbean people that went there. So it was also, as a black person who grew up in the suburbs, a way for me to connect with my culture, people of my culture. But I had to remember that, yeah, even though it gives me proximity to people from my culture, I'm denying parts of myself to fit into this community. And that goes against the commitment that I have made to myself. Although at first it was indirect, or it wasn't super conscious in me, but now I know, like, I'm making this commitment to myself. That goes against the commitment to myself of being authentically me, of honoring every part of myself. That means not suppressing parts of me when I go to a certain place so that the people there will accept me and call me their friend. You know what I mean? I remember there was this one girl who I used to call a friend, and this one time I asked to nobody in particular, and I don't know if I've said this before, if I said this in my last video. If I did, oh well. I asked to nobody in particular, oh, if God hates gay people, why did he make them? And different Christians have their own ideas of what God thinks about gay people. They're a gay Christian, so it's like, whatever. But I was just saying that to no one in particular. And then she was like, no, God didn't make gay people, the devil did. And I actually just sat there like, what the fuck? Okay. Because it's like, what are you actually saying? Like, what are you saying? And that was a reminder that in the moment I didn't realize, but looking back, I'm realizing, yeah, that community was never meant for me. There was another time, because we have a group chat between all the teenagers in the church, and this one girl and boy were going back and forth. They were arguing as Africans do, bro. I don't even remember what they were talking about. It was some bullshit, but they were arguing, and then she called him DL, and he didn't know what it meant, and somebody explained it to him, and she used it as an insult. And I actually giggled when I saw the text. Like, when she called him DL, I actually giggled when I saw the text bubble. And then it hit me, like, bitch, you're DL. You know that you're gay. You've known that you're gay. You're going to church with these people who don't know that you're gay and wouldn't like that you're gay. And you've now forgotten that you're gay. Like, you've now forgotten that you're gay. So, what the fuck are you? What are you? I in that moment I was like, oh shit, I'm DL. So I was like, shit, I low-key need to get the fuck out of this church community. And that's what made me realize that me seeking community in that church, to have proximity to people of my culture, because I didn't see that in my hometown or where I live, was forcing me to deny parts of myself, because it's a church. And like I said, there are branches of Christianity that are more forgiving to, or that accept like queer people or have different interpretations of the Bible or whatever, but I've never seen an African version of those churches. Every black church I know of, I've been to, I've heard of, is homophobic. That's just what I've seen. So it's like, in that moment, I realized, yeah, I can't keep doing this. So I decided then that, okay, I'm gonna stop going here. And we ended up stopping going to that church. I don't know if I said that right. We stopped going to that church eventually because my family goes to multiple churches. My dad goes to one, my mom went to that one. So we ended up going to the one my dad preaches at, because he's a pastor there. Damn, I just realized me being lesbian and a pastor's daughter is kind of ironic. But we stopped going to that church anyways because we started going to my dad's church, and there aren't any teenagers, so I'm the only, me and my siblings and a few other kids are the only kids there. So, I wasn't making friends with anybody, really. And also, it's a walking distance from my house, so I just walk home after every service. Anyways, I stopped going to that church. I then said, okay, I need to come out to my mom. I need to tell her that I'm agnostic and that I'm lesbian, because if I don't tell another person in this house that I am who I am, I'm gonna start forgetting it. And I know that sounds weird, but when you get so used to suppressing, or not even suppressing, because I'm not ashamed of my sexuality or my spirituality, it's just that when you live in a household where you're hiding certain parts of yourself, you get so used to the action of hiding them that sometimes you forget they're there. You know what I mean? It's also that those parts of your identity, if you're somebody of any, it doesn't matter what sexuality you are, you're not thinking about your sexuality every single day. You know what I mean? So it's just something that you are. If you're a man who's gay, you're not thinking about the fact that you're gay every hour of every day. It's just a part of your reality. If you're a transgender person, you're not thinking about the fact that you're trans, or, I mean, I can't speak for you. You're not. You're not thinking about the fact that you're transgender every hour, every second of every day. If you are, it's usually because people are reminding you. But you get my point. Those parts of yourself as a queer person is just a part of you. You're not thinking about it every second of your day. It's just a part of you. So when you're in a household, when you're living in a household where you have to hide that part of you from the other people in your household, and it's already a part of your identity that you've accepted and you don't think about every day, it becomes easy to almost forget it. You know what I mean? So I had to say, okay, I'm coming out to my mom because I need to remember who the fuck I am. So I came out to her. That was a hard conversation, but it helped me because now I had this freedom to be more myself. I talked about in my last video how I leave church early. Like, I don't stay. There's a fellowship time after church where we have food or whatever. I don't stay for that. Sometimes I leave halfway during the sermon because I just don't want to be there. But it gives me a freedom to be more myself. I just leave because I don't care, and I'm not hiding it from my mom now. She can't be confused about why I'm doing that. So I just leave. And surprisingly, my dad doesn't care, so I just go. You know what I mean? So that was one example of how I had to learn a lesson and take actions to stay committed to that promise of being my authentic self. Because when you know that you're meant for greater things, that is coming from your intuition. That is your higher self speaking to you. I'm Nigerian, specifically Igbo, and in our traditional mythology, in not even mythology, but in our traditional spiritual practices, your chi, chi, your chi is almost like your higher self, which is what people call it in these spiritual communities. It's like your spiritual replica of you. It's you, but existing on a different plane. And it, as well as you, shape your fate. So the course of your life, the things that happen over your lifetime, are a result of you and your chi. In our traditions, if you have a bad chi, that explains you having bad fortune. If you have a good chi, that explains you having good fortune. So for me, applying this to my life right now, I know, me and my chi, my higher self, know that I am meant for things bigger than my hometown, bigger than where I grew up. I want to go to school in this city and do things with my life because I don't see myself existing as an adult here. It feels so claustrophobic here. I can't live in the suburbs for the rest of my life. I can't deal with these white people. Like, I just know that I'm meant for bigger, better, greater, amazing, wonderful things. I just know that. I don't need anybody to tell me that. I know that. And I knew that when I gave myself the space to listen to myself. Like I said, I started journaling and spending time with myself, and I just knew that. So if you're somebody who's known either since you were a child or since you, like me, dealt with your mental health issues and are still dealing with them, but spent more time with yourself and listened to your intuition more often, and you realized, yeah, this space that I'm in right now isn't meant for where I'm going, you have to listen to that. And the only thing you need to do for those things to come true, for you to achieve the greatness that you know you're destined for, is to constantly be in alignment. Listen to your intuition, make sure that your thoughts, your actions, and your beliefs all align. That's what alignment means. I was talking about it this morning to myself, because I talk to myself all the time. I love talking to myself. Oh my god. But I was talking to myself about it this morning. People in these spiritual circles talk about being in alignment all the time, and it's like, what the hell does that mean? But it's really simple. It's just when your thoughts, your actions, your beliefs, and your words are all in alignment. None of them are contradicting each other. When your thoughts about yourself and your beliefs about yourself contradict your words and your actions, it keeps you in stagnation. You can't make any progress in life because you're contradicting yourself. Bro, there's a fly on my chair. Anyways, every time I kill a fly, my friends call me, they say, oh, you're so Nigerian. Because growing up, my mom, when she wanted to kill one of those small flies, she just claps in her hands. And that's what I do now, but not with the big ones, because I don't need that nastiness on my hands. But with the small ones, those little fruit flies, yeah, you can just go. But anyways, right? What was I saying? Yeah, being in alignment simply means that your beliefs about yourself, your thoughts about yourself, your words and your actions all line up. And as long as you keep them lined up, you're only going to be moving forward. You know, there's little to no effort that you need to put in. That's the way I see things. For all the things that I want to manifest, being financially independent, you know, I'm gonna move out of my parents' house regardless. I could be I could be dirt fucking poor. I mean, not a single cent to my name, and I would still be living on campus in college, because if I spend 4 more years than I need to in this household, that's not gonna be great. Yeah, that's just not gonna be great. But regardless, right? So all these things that I see in my future, like being financially independent, moving out, and going to college in the city where I think I'd fit better. I don't need to put in a lot of effort to make those things happen. All I need to do is be in alignment, listen to my intuition, and be in tune with myself. That's it, that's all. When you're manifesting certain things into your life, obviously there's different methods you can use for manifestation, although the end goal is always to be in the state of having it, because you can only have what you already have. So if you don't believe you have something, you're never gonna have it. If you believe that you have it before you have it in the 3D, you're gonna get it in the 3D. You can only have what you already have, right? So there's nothing that I'm lacking in myself that I'm looking for in what I see in my future, what I'm manifesting in my future, right? Like, let's use me moving out of my parents' house for an example. Why do I want to move out of my parents' house and live on campus in college and eventually in my own apartment? Because I want a feeling of freedom and independence. I want to feel like I can do things on my own without needing to work with anybody's schedule or ask anybody before I go do it. I want that freedom and independence. So how can I give myself that before I get it in the form of moving out and going to college? Well, the first example, like I said, was coming up to my mom. When I finally told her, yeah, I'm agnostic and I'm lesbian, that gave me space to be more openly myself in my household, which gave me a bigger feeling of freedom. Like I'm just being myself. If I want to leave church because I don't want to listen to the bullshit they're saying there, I just leave. That's freedom. The fact that my church is a walking distance from my house, I just leave, I go walk to my home. That's freedom. I want to paint a mural behind my bed in my bedroom because I like to paint and I've gotten into it recently and I want to paint one behind my bed. I just haven't gotten to it, but I need to start it. And I was journaling about it and I was like, yeah, this is another way for me to exercise freedom. I have to give myself freedom and have it on my own in the situation I'm in right now before I can get it in the form of financial independence and living on my own. That's an example of you can only have what you already have, giving yourself the things that you want to have. If you're manifesting, because whenever I'm like on manifestation, watching manifestation content, people are always asking about how to manifest an SP, your specific person. They want a relationship or whatever. It's like if you're insecure about yourself, you don't love yourself, you are not going to manifest love because you can only have what you already have. So that's just another example. You have to learn to love and value yourself and see that you are deserving of love and give yourself that love before you get it in the form of a romantic partner or in the form of a new friend. You know what I mean? You can only have what you already have. Even if because I said I want to manifest financial independence, I can only have what I already have. All these things that we want to manifest them because of a feeling that they give us, an emotion that they make us feel. So like I said, with moving out of my parents' house, the feeling that I get from that is independence and freedom. So if I want to manifest being financially independent, the feeling that I'm seeking through that financial independence is the same sense of independence and freedom. So again, it's simply finding ways in my life right now to give myself more freedom and independence so that I already have it. You know what I mean? That's the way I see it. And it's not just doing this for you shouldn't just be doing this to manifest things. It's also to stabilize your self-worth, your self-confidence. You know what I mean? Because I keep saying, you know what I mean? Oh my god. Like, I noticed recently that when I was watching Love Island, everybody there said like every 3 words they said like. So now every time I repeat a certain phrase or word, I'm hyper aware of it. But like I was saying, the idea behind that you can only have what you have isn't just for manifestation. You should never seek to get something else to fill a hole in yourself. You need to patch that hole in yourself. You know what I mean? There we go. You need to give yourself something before anybody can give it to you. Like I said with the example of manifesting a special person, you need to give yourself love and respect before anybody can show it to you. If you're an insecure person, that's going to reflect to other people. I'm really good at recognizing insecure people, and sometimes it's annoying because insecurity shows up in many ways. In some people, it's all inward. They're always apologizing for themselves and what they've done to you. For other people, they project it onto others, so they treat you a certain way because they're insecure about themselves. But it's all insecurity. Different types of insecurity, but insecurity nonetheless. So if you are insecure about yourself, so you want to manifest somebody to give you want to manifest a romantic partner to give you love so that you can feel more secure, you're going to be doing so from a standpoint of desperation, which is a repelling frequency. But like I said, this idea of giving yourself the things that you want before you get them should also apply to life beyond manifestation, beyond consciously trying to manifest something. You need to give yourself everything that you need so that you can be detached from other people. That's how you build self-confidence, and that's it, self-confidence. That's how you build it. I've noticed that I felt a lot more confident in myself in the past few months and years even by giving myself all the things I didn't believe I deserved when I was younger. Self-love. I didn't believe I deserved that when I was a kid. I said many times I grew up in the suburbs. It was all skinny white girls around me with straight hair and light skin. So I became very insecure about my complexion, about my hair texture. I didn't grow up skinny, so I became insecure about my body shape and whatnot, right? And my mom would tell me, like, oh, you're beautiful. And I'm Nigerian. The beauty standard in Nigeria, although colorism isn't an issue in this country, but the beauty standard in Nigeria is to be full body. In America, when somebody tells you lost weight, it's a compliment. In Nigeria, it's a concern. But regardless, even coming from a country and a culture whose beauty standards were ma- overall Afrocentric, being in the white suburban communities that I grew up in led me to develop insecurities about my looks and therefore my personhood, my entire personhood. I felt that I was too ugly to deserve love or respect from anybody, so I projected that insecurity not even onto other people. It was all inward because I saw everybody as inherently better than me. Every white girl was more beautiful than me. So my insecurity was projected inward. And as I got older, I had to realize that's not true. My natural features are gorgeous. I mean, look, you see me wearing my afro today. I had twists in before, and then I took my hair out. I put it into Bantu knots, and then did a little Bantu knot twist out. And my afro looks amazing. My hair has gotten so much healthier over the past few years. When I haven't relaxed it in years. I haven't texturized it in years. I haven't straightened it. I haven't done any of that bullshit I used to do to try and achieve a look that was never meant for me, fit a beauty standard that never included me. I've just been myself. I've given myself the love I didn't give myself as a kid because I thought I didn't deserve it. I know now that I am beautiful. I am gorgeous. I love my natural features. And it's funny now because when I was a kid, everybody wanted to be skinny and whatnot. And really, oh my god, the beauty standards were a lot more Eurocentric. Nowadays, everybody's getting lip filler. Everybody wants a BBL. People want to look more black. Everyone's getting permed. It's ridiculous. But it's just funny that after I gave myself the love and validation I was looking for as a child, the beauty standard shifted to look more like me and women like me. But that's besides the point. Where was I even going? But yeah, that's just an example of me learning to give myself something before, just to increase my self-confidence, to feel like there was nothing lacking. That's another affirmation I've been saying recently. I lack nothing. There's nothing somebody could give me that I don't already have. That's why I don't attach myself to people desperately. A lot of people, when they get into any relationship, and I'm not just talking romantic, a friendship, or maybe they got a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a partner or whatever, and they get so desperately and anxiously attached to that person because they're giving themselves something they're giving them something they don't have themselves. Love and validation. Even if the relationship is toxic, even if it's not healthy, even if it's on the point of being abusive, they stay because they're getting this love and validation from their partner and they don't give it to themselves. I would never find myself in that kind of situation, that type of arrangement, because anything that another person could give me, I have already given myself. And that's what I mean when I say you have to apply that mindset beyond manifestation. You can only have what you already have, but also just to give yourself a feeling of wholeness. Give yourself anything and everything somebody could possibly give you so that you never find yourself in a situation where you're relying on somebody to give you something. And this doesn't just mean material things. I'm not just talking about money. I mean love, validation, assurance, anything that somebody could give you, you have already given yourself, so you're not replying or relying on anybody as your source of it. You know what I mean? I had to give myself love and tell myself and believe that I myself am beautiful, because growing up I didn't hear that. So if there's certain things about you that you have been lacking in, like you didn't grow up in a place where you thought you were beautiful like me, or maybe you have other insecurities. In the Nigerian community, there's such high expectations in academics, which is overall a good thing. Like, you should always be shooting to the top. You should always be aiming to do the best, especially when you come from an immigrant family where your parents worked hard to bring you to this country. You need to take advantage of the opportunities that you find here because it is a privilege. But it can become really toxic where parents expect so much of their kids, but they give them so little support in the ways that they need it, that the imbalance between expectations and support leads to the kid breaking down. When your parents are expecting so much of you academically, but they're not supporting you in any way, you feel overwhelmed and you get burnt out. For a long time, I felt insecure about my intelligence. I felt stupid because the schools in Nigeria are so much more advanced than those in America, and combined with the expectation of straight A's in the Nigerian community, when I was struggling with my mental health and my grades were dropping, it just put me deeper in my depression because it was feeding my feeling of inadequacy, that I'm not enough. Because my community, the expectation of my community is straight A's. You go to school, you're getting straight A's, you're the top of your class. I was struggling with my mental health severely, and my grades were dropping. Mind you, I never failed a class. I never failed a class in high school. The lowest grade I ever got on a test was a C, and the lowest grade I ever got in a class was a B. I wasn't even severely failing. I wasn't getting F's and D's and whatever. No, the lowest grade I got in a class was a B minus, and I still had this anxiety of, oh my God, I'm failing my parents, I'm failing my community. Da 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 pa 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 pa. That feeling was still giving me anxiety. I still felt insecure about my intellect. And that is something that I've been dealing with now. I have another affirmation that I tell myself: I know everything that I need to know. I know everything that I need to know. Anything that I will need to know when I'm an adult, not approaching adulthood, shit. But anything that I will need to know later in my life, I'll get that information, I'll learn that lesson. I'm good at learning lessons. When the universe is trying to teach me something, I listen. So anything that I'll need to know, I'll learn. Anything that I need to know now, I know. Everything that I need to know, I know. And not to mention, if we are all reflections, or just the way I see it, we're all fragments of source inside human bodies. We're all fragments of source consciousness experiencing humanity, what it is to be a human. If source knows everything, because source is everything, and I am a part of source, I'm connected to source, there's nothing I don't know. Obviously my human mind doesn't know everything. Like, my human mind does not know every detail of how every aspect of this world works. I don't. I'll admit that I don't. But anything that I need to know, I know. That's the way that I see it. And I use that affirmation specifically because it goes beyond my insecurity about my intellect in school. Just overall, any lesson that I'll need to learn, because we have to remember, school is not all of life. School is a part of your life. There's going to be a point in life where you've been out of school for so long, you forget what school is like. You forget you were ever even in school. It's not on the front of your mind. But when you are in school, when you're still in high school or college, that's the only thing you're thinking about because you're in school. But it's important to remember, school is not everything. So I use that affirmation because it goes beyond academics. Academics are not everything. Street smarts and book smarts, general smarts and book smarts, those are two different things, So I use that affirmation because it goes beyond that. I know everything I need to know. Not just what I need to know for AP calculus, not just what I need to know for AP statistics, not just what I need to know for AP literature, but what I need to know for life. Any lesson I need to learn, I know. So that's another thing I do to make sure that I am not insecure about anything. I do not feel I am lacking in any way. Because that feeling of insecurity, that's the work that you're going to have to do in your journey of life. If you're somebody that knows you're meant for greater things. I've already said that as long as you're in alignment and you're spending time with yourself and truly getting to know yourself and being present in yourself, you're going to get to that point of achievement that you know you're destined for with little to no effort. The majority of the effort you need to put in is making sure that you do not feel insecure about anything in your life. I have learned at a young age that any insecurity you don't address right now will follow you for the rest of your life. I have seen adults who are so insecure. I mean, grown adults, people in their 50s, who are dealing with insecurities I've seen in high school classmates. And I'm gobsmacked. I'm just, wow, wow. At that age, at your grown age, you're still dealing with this insecurity because you didn't deal with it when you were younger. I don't want to be the person who has to learn the lesson when it's too late. No, I look at the adults now, I'm like, oh, yeah, let me learn that right now. So now, whenever I see an insecurity or a part, yeah, an insecurity, something I feel that I'm lacking, I deal with it in the moment. I deal with that in the moment, because if I don't, that's going to become something that gets in my way as I'm trying to move forward in my life. That's something you have to deal with when you're, regardless of where you see yourself going, but especially if you're like me and you see yourself doing things and living a life that is so much bigger than where you're from, than your hometown, than the people you see around you right now. You know you're destined for amazing things. You see yourself making real impact in the world. For you to do that, be of service, and truly hone the gift that Source has given you, you have to do a lot of inner work. And part of that inner work is demolishing your insecurities. Because if you don't now, they will chase you for the rest of your life. And the thing about insecurities, another thing I've learned from observing adults, grown people who have insecurities. Let me take a sip of my water. My throat's getting dry. Excuse me. Another thing I've learned from observing adults with insecurities is that that feeling of inadequacy in yourself turns into bitterness. That's why people who are insecure about something in themselves project it onto other people. So let me use this example. A lot of older women still feel that insecurity about their looks. I see it, especially in the Black community. That's a place I know I can speak on. And this is just the Black diaspora community. I don't care what flavor of Black you are, Black African, Black American, Afro-Caribbean, Latino, or Hispanic. A lot of Black grown women who are insecure about their Afrocentric features project that insecurity on younger Black women and girls who are confident in their looks. They'll tell you that your hair looks like this or like that, or that your face looks weird, or say something about your looks to insult you because they're bitter at the fact that you're confident in the traits that they're insecure about. That's just an example I'm using because I've observed it in my life and in my experience and in my community. But anybody can be like that. It doesn't need to be about beauty standards. Adults will project their insecurities, especially adults who see it in younger people. Adults will project their insecurities on younger people who don't have them, because when you let that insecurity settle in you for too long, it just turns into bitterness. And you don't need to become a 50-year-old elderly person. Is 50 super elderly? Because if you live until you're 90 years old, technically 50 is just a little bit longer than half your life. But anyways, you don't need to live until you're 50 or 70 or 130 years old for that insecurity to turn into bitterness. Even me, I've seen my peers try and project their insecurities onto other people because they refuse to deal with them on their own. It can happen at any age. Insecurities do not discriminate. It happens at any age. So, like I said, on this journey of life, I think one of the biggest things that I have, not just from my experience learned, but learned from observing adults who have really lived life that are much older than me, is that any issue, and it doesn't have to be an insecurity, it can be a self-belief. Insecurities are self-belief, but it can be anything lingering in your self-concept and insecurity or otherwise that you don't like, but you refuse to deal with. A pattern of behavior, if you notice yourself exhibiting certain patterns of behavior that you don't like, but you don't deal with them, it's only gonna get worse. It's not gonna disappear. There are things that heal with time, but not everything does. There are certain behaviors that if you want them to change, if you want them to go away, you have to consciously, actively work on them. Time won't remove them for you. If anything, time makes them worse because they develop into something a lot more gross. And the primary way that I've seen it is just in insecurities. But it happens in many ways. That's why, like I said, whenever I notice something in myself, either a pattern of behavior, an insecurity, a self-belief or otherwise, that I do not like, I nip it in the butt then. Because I refuse to let anything that I can work on right now get in my way when I'm doing great things later in life. I refuse to let that happen. I already know that I'm destined to do wonderful things. I already know that I'm destined to achieve greatness in my life. I'm a creative person. I love to do artistic things, and I want to do a bunch of artistic things when I get older. I can't tell you right now exactly what life is going to look like for me in 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, but I can tell you I'm going to be in a great place. I can tell you I'm going to be living well. I can tell you I'm going to be paid to exist, doing things that I love, with people that I love, in a place that I love, loving myself. I can tell you that. So if I know that I'm destined for things so wonderful, amazing, and beautiful in my future, why would I let anything that I can deal with now, an insecurity or otherwise, hinder me then when I can deal with it now? So anytime I notice myself having those thoughts that I'm dealing with, like sometimes I'll walk into a room and I feel a little bit insecure because, okay, you gotta understand, I'm still living in the suburbs. There's white people everywhere. Sometimes I'll walk into a room and I'm the only black girl there, and I know I'm not skinny like a lot of these white girls, so a thought will pop into my head like, oh, I look so weird, or something like that. It's not even that, what is it now? Direct anymore. Maybe it'll just be a feeling. Because sometimes you'll have thoughts of insecurity, like words, but other times it's just a feeling of me shrinking. I can feel me shrinking myself. I can feel my spine bending. I'm not standing up straight. I can feel myself shrinking. And then I have to sit back up. I have to realize, no, that's not me. I don't think that way. I don't care what room I'm in. I deserve to be in every single room that I step in. And it doesn't matter what the other people in the room look like, because this isn't a competition. I know that I'm gorgeous. I know that I'm beautiful. I know English is not my friend. I know I'm deserving of amazing, wonderful things. I know that I am the operant power in my life. I know that I'm deserving of love, abundance, success, and all that. Why would I step into any room and feel otherwise? I deal with it right there. I don't let those thoughts settle. No, I don't. I don't let that feeling settle. I don't. I deal with it right there. And that work, now it's conscious work. Now I have to put a little bit of effort into changing my mindset. But in the future, it's just going to be unconscious. I'm going to walk into every room and I'm not even going to feel myself shrinking. I'm not even going to feel an ounce of insecurity. I'm just already going to know I'm that bitch. I deserve to be here. I'm not ugly. I'm not undeserving. I'm not this. I'm not that. I am everything I need to be and more. I am everything I want to be and more. I don't need to be what people expect of me. All I need to be is me. That's it. And again, like I said, right now, it feels like conscious work to get there. Right now, I have to put effort into changing my thoughts and working on them. But I know that in the future, it's going to become unconscious. The work that you put in now to change your self-concept will no longer be work once it truly becomes your self-concept. If reality is a delayed mirror, your current reality is not a reflection of who you think you are in this moment. It's a reflection of who you thought you were before. So even if my current reality doesn't match up with the self-concept I have in the moment, I don't worry. I don't worry about what I see in the 3D because I know that it's a delayed mirror. It has no choice but to be. It has no choice but to be a mirror of who I see myself as. So in the moment, I'm living with my parents. I'm not fully financially independent yet. And I'm not in a space where I can be myself with people who I know truly love me and every part of me, and also am in community that makes me feel like I belong, because that's another thing. I knew I wanted to go to school in the city. I was thinking about going to an HBCU, but that's just too far from home. I'm not willing to go that far because I low-key wanted to stay home. Not home, but I wanted to be in an urban environment that is somewhat familiar to me. And for me, that is Boston. Okay, and Boston is great. Boston is great. I like that it's a smaller city. Boston is great. No qualms with going to school in Boston. Going to an all-women's college in Boston. No qualms with that. I love that. So, what was I saying? Yeah, in the moment, I may not be in a community. That's been a big thing for me. I wanted to go to school in the city because I know it's a more diverse group of people there. College will always be more diverse anyways because I go to PWIs that are high schools. Any college that is a PWI will still be more diverse than a high school that is a PWI. Any urban college. Let me fix that. Any college in an urban area that is a PWI will still be more diverse than a high school in a suburb that is a PWI. But anyways, the point is, part of what I see in my future, what I'm manifesting for my future, is being in community with people who look like me. I want to be in community with more people of color, specifically black people of all flavors. I consider myself a Pan-Africanist. That means I believe in having and sharing community with all black people, black Africans, black Americans, Afro-Latinos, Hispanics, and Caribbeans. I don't give a fuck. You know, that's how I want to live my life. So when I'm thinking about life in college, it's being in a space where I'm able to truly be myself around people who accept every part of me, who I pour into and who pour into me, being in diverse community, diverse black community, being financially independent, and not feeling insecure about anything about myself. That's what I see for my future. So right now, in this exact moment, the 3D may not be reflecting that, but I know that my 3D right now, because reality is a delayed mirror, is not reflecting my current self-concept. It's reflecting my past self-concepts, my past beliefs. So if I want reality to change, I have to change myself first. And I've been doing that. I see myself doing the work. And like I said, it's conscious now, but one day it'll be unconscious. So I don't worry about, that's another thing you'll see a lot in the manifestation community. People are always talking about, oh, the 3D looks like this, the 3D looks like that. I don't give a fuck what my 3D looks like because I know that my dream life is already here. It's already there. Like, I'm gonna go to college next fall. I'm gonna find everything I'm looking for in my life when I get there. And it's not about college. This isn't about, oh, a lot of people idealize college, like, oh, when I go to college, I'm gonna be able to do all these things. Like, sure, going to college in a space outside of your hometown and living on campus grants you freedoms you may not have at home. That's true, but it's not about college for me because, again, I don't see myself working in corporate America. I don't care to have one of those types of jobs. So when I go to college, I want to study psychology, which is literally famous for being hard to get a job in. But I'm not doing it because I want to work in some type of clinical setting. You know, immigrant parents, it's either engineer, doctor, or lawyer. I don't want to be either of those, okay? I want to be myself, and I want to be financially independent, but I'm not trying to do a job that makes me want to kill myself, okay? I don't want to do that, but I've always been interested in psychology and how the human brain works. Since I was a kid, I was like, oh, what if I studied psychology? It was just a thing in my head. But I convinced myself that I shouldn't, that I should go into, what is it, fucking medicine or law. Or for a while I was like, oh, I'm gonna be an immigrant lawyer because I want to help people like my parents who are immigrants who find it harder to make it into this country, which is a great cause. Like, that's not a bad thing to want to be. But it was me trying to find a balance between what other people wanted of me and what I wanted to do in my life. But too much of what other people wanted of me was being considered in that decision. But regardless, for me, going to college isn't because I feel like I have to. It's not because I feel like I need to do that to get money and be financially stable in my life. Because again, I don't even want to work a corporate job like most people do when they come out of college. And like I already said, I want to do something creative when I get older, but it's just a vessel for me to find the things that I'm looking for, that independence, that community in that time of my life. Because like I said before, school is a part of life. Once you get out of school and you're not going back, that's a part of your life that is past. You're never going to be in school again. People spend the majority of their lives out of school. Unless you're a black woman who has a hobby of getting degrees. I don't know what it is with black women and wanting to be so damn educated. I love that for us, I really do. But Jesus, my mom is still in school. My mom is still in school. Like, oh my god. And it's like a whole thing I've been seeing on TikTok of people talking about, oh yeah, my mom is 40 something and she's got this many degrees and she's still in school. My mom is 50 something, she's got this many degrees, she's still in school. Da 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 da. And I love that for us, I really do. But like I was saying, the majority of people spend the majority of their lives outside of school. So when I'm thinking about college and the freedom it's going to grant me when I get there, it's not about college. College is a vessel for me to find the things I've been looking for in life. That freedom and independence and community. I'm going to find it there, but I don't need college to find it. If I decided I didn't want to go to college and I decided I'm just going to move to Boston and figure shit out from there, I believe that I'd be fine. I believe that I'd find everything I need eventually. I believe I'd be fine. I thought about, oh, what if I come out to my mom and she kicks me out? Because that is a possibility for a lot of people coming out to their parents. What if she tells my dad? Because I wasn't really ready to tell my dad yet, but I was ready to tell her. I was like, oh, what if she tells my dad and they both decide they want to kick me out? I knew that was a possibility, and I was okay with it because I knew I would be okay. That's just the way I think about myself. That's my self-concept. I'm not worried. Like I said, everything works in my favor. So even if they kicked me out, put me on the streets, and I was fucking homeless, I don't care. I would have been okay. I don't care. That's the self-concept I have on myself. And for a while I was hesitant to adopt it because I felt like it sounded, pretentious or privileged. A lot of people who come from immigrant families have this like survivor's guilt, where when they do believe they're deserving of good things, they hesitate to believe that because they know there's so many people like them who don't have said good things. But I had to learn that regardless of what a lot of people in my community are struggling with, I still deserve to have good things. And if my parents worked so hard to bring me to this country so that I could have certain opportunities, why wouldn't I exercise that freedom and go after those opportunities? Like, I'll be fine. But yeah, those are just a lot of things I've realized as somebody who knows that she wants more from her life than what she sees right now. And like I said, that's not something that everybody can relate to. A lot of people look at their hometown and they're okay living like that. A lot of the people in my hometown, either teachers from my school, and again, I hesitate to call this place my hometown because I didn't spend my childhood here and I don't like a lot of the people here. The suburbs are really, it's truly an experience to live here. But like I said, these are just things I've learned as somebody who sees their life as something bigger than what this town can give me. I don't see myself living here when I'm an adult. Too many adults that I meet here say they were born here, raised here, went to school here, raised their kids here. I don't see myself doing that. I can't do that. No, I don't want to live here any longer than I need to. That's A-okay with me. I'm not going to be here my whole life. So, yeah. Thank you for listening to me talk for an hour. It's 59 minutes and 39 seconds, but yeah, that's just, those are all things that are important to remember that you need to work on when you know that's the life that, or that's the direction that your life is headed in. You know?